All right, Derek, your first entry. What do you have? We agree with the Embiid part for Kyle. Where are you going?
So, Michael, I just want to be clear here. We're mainly starting off with people already on the team because that is the most realistic pathway forward. Most of the people that we're talking about, that we spent the last month talking about, outside of maybe LeBron James, wouldn't come in here and be the Sixers' best player. A lot of times not even their second best player. So in order to get that next step, a lot of that's going to come down to internal development or at least being healthy when it matters. So when I bring up Tyrese Maxey, it's not to criticize him. We know he's only 23. We're all very happy with the progress that he has made. I want to get that out front. But it would make things a lot easier if he took another leap forward, especially when we talk about playmaking. Not only making that pocket pass to Embiid, not only being able to set him up, but using the attention they draw to create open shots, skip passes to the corner, cutters, rollers, things of that sort. Maybe even a lob every now and then, which the Sixers really don't do. But if he can make that jump.
An on-target lob.
Sure.
Yes.
Not just throw it high in the air. That's
right.
not, yeah.
Right.
If he can make that leap, and look, part of the reason he's being brought up here is because he's only 3, because he can get better, because he's shown progress every year. But if he can make that leap, become a more reliable shot creator for others, and I do think he took a step this year. It's just not quite where it needs to be when you start talking about playing at a championship level. But unless Sixers can find a way to bring in an elite level passer, like I said, like LeBron James, really the only one that probably fits that bill, a jump from Tyrese Maxey would make everything just slot into place a whole lot easier.
By the way, I don't even think we need to be explaining ourselves this far into the season being over, where we are in the offseason, how much positive things that we talk about with Tyrese Maxey, where you need to even have a disclaimer on the end of that because
well,
I know. I'm saying we shouldn't even have to do it. We talk about this guy because we say the two guys
talk about him as an
all-NBA
candidate.
Exactly.
And all this, yeah.
We don't even need to explain ourselves anymore. But to your point, you're right. That's just natural development of a 4-year player, a 22, 23-year-old in the NBA, as we see him ascending at his role in the league. And now he is doing so much that, number one, the best player and franchise player calls him the franchise, whether it's tongue-in-cheek or not. It's because he feels like he's that good, where that label should be placed on him as well. And that's how important he is to the success of the basketball team and how much he points that out when he does his press conferences, his interviews, and saying, I always tell Tyrese this because he's that good. That's number one. And number two, when it comes to the playmaking, coming into the league while he was a young player and they had him as a combo guard, sometimes the ball in his hand, sometimes not, the natural progression of having the basketball as much, taking away from the Ben Simmons part, then James Harden coming in where he was not the primary ball handler on the basketball team, that's just the natural development again that he's going to have to continue to have over the course of him getting older, looking at film, the offseason workouts, what he's working on getting better in the offseason. All of that stuff is going to help. So when we're saying he needs to be a better playmaker, it's not a lie. It's the truth. And even when you hear them talking about it at the end of the season, they mention it themselves that it's something within the Sixers organization that they would like to see from him in year number 5. It's not a knock. It's just how much more can he help out now where that number jumps from 6 assists to maybe 8 or 9 assists and getting easier bucket opportunities for other because you are the point guard. Driving to the rim, the defense collapses. Yes, you have a great layup package where you can do so many things and finish, but also that drop off to that open teammate on either side of the rim will help you out and getting easier buckets for them, but also depending on how they defend you when you're driving, what does that mean? So you're absolutely right with Tyrese Maxey just simply taking that next step and being almost not even an elite passer yet in year 5, but just a much improved passer in year number 5, where you're looking at it saying, man, and you could see the difference in his playmaking for what he focused on in the offseason to make sure that he's a better passer, whether it's the workouts, the film study that he does, and we see it immediately when he's out there on the floor.
And look, so to me, it's even more than the playmaking. I just want Tyrese to have more counters. And I think he talked quite a bit about being the top guy on the scouting report with Joel out and how much that taught him about, okay, well, so this is what I'm going to face moving forward. When we get to the playoffs, when we're playing against elite competition, I'm going to see these kitchen sink defenses, right? I'm going to get trapped. They're going to take away my ability to go right because teams know he doesn't want to go left. And they know generally he doesn't want to settle for mid-range shots, and that generally he's not going to throw the over-the-top skip pass, although I think we have seen those come with relative infrequency, but we're seeing them more than we saw early in his career. So it's just being able to see, okay, they line up this way. How do I react to that? How do I throw that back at them? And the development of his step back jumper has obviously been a huge one, right? Because with his speed, teams tried to sit off of him, and he sells the drive and then says, no, I'm stepping back and I'm clearing a pretty good amount of space to take a 3-point shot that he hits with a great frequency from out there, despite how difficult that shot is. So it is the playmaking, because he is going to be the lead guard for this team unless there's a big development with who they trade for, who they draft, whatnot. I want to see more playmaking, but I also want to see just more dribble counters, more regular use of that mid-range pull-up that we saw that toward the end of last season, had more success with it. Just the further, it doesn't have to be a quantum leap, right? Like we've already seen last year, he got to over 6 assists a game, less than 2 turnovers. I actually, frankly, would be okay with a little more aggressiveness and some more turnovers as a result of that, because I do think some of those low turnover games are misleading in that it's playing conservative rather than taking care of the basketball. And I do think there's a difference. So I hope that, I've talked about on the show recently, Nick Nurse at the beginning of seasons tells guys like, hey, you can experiment. I want to just like test things out, and everybody can shoot threes and everybody can attack and do all that. I hope that he's in Tyrese's ear to start next season and says, I want you to be more adventurous as a passer and as a playmaker, and figure out sort of where that line is between you're taking care of the basketball, but you're also not really getting the maximum value that you could out of your vision and out of your playmaking. So it's none of this is like a huge ask, I don't think. It's just along that natural progression that I think he's shown everywhere else.
And I just want to, like, some people will be like, oh, well, you shouldn't be asked to run an offense or have him run the offense less or yada, yada, yada. I don't think this is running an offense. I think it's anytime your top scorer is also, or one of your top scorers is also an elite playmaker, it just makes everything easier. Like I said this in the chat, but like if you say somebody, well, his only role or his role is to score, it's a very polite way of saying he's not good enough at passing. Like Kelly is only a scorer. Well, yeah, that's because he can't pass. And if
or
Kelly
doesn't want to.
And if Kelly could pass, then his shots would be easier. There'd be fewer missed opportunities in terms of creating shots for others. The offense would flow more smoothly. There's a little bit, to a lesser degree, because Maxey's we can criticize Maxey's passing. He's worlds better than someone like Kelly. But there's a little bit of that with Maxey too. And it's, his shots would be easier. His drives would be easier if defenses were a little more worried about him manipulating defense. If he was really good, at picking when defenders start making their cuts to double and help off shooters. If he was able to make more passes than he does, it just makes his job easier. It makes the offense flow easier. All of your top scorers, you would love to be top decision makers as well. And like I said, because the Sixers are at a spot where Maxey's probably going to be your best or second best perimeter option, he needs to make more of those plays.
Yeah. And to your point on the counter of the dribbling, and especially at the pull-up around 15, 17, where he makes that easy, when we speak about preserving Joel Embiid's body too, same thing for Tyrese Maxey, because at the end of the day, while he does have a pretty good build, he's still a small guy going into there, getting a lot of contact. And while he always gets up,
heavy minutes,
he bounces
too,
up, he plays heavy minutes. So those are going to help him as well on the other end when he's just not, hey, let me be smart here. Nice little step back right here, crossover between the legs, pull back, bang, knock down that 15 to 17-foot jumper, and everything is all good.
We all silly like the mayor.